I'd like to welcome Mathew Jensen from Jensen Lawn Care to the show. Hey, Matthew, how's it going?
Pretty great. How are you?
I'm doing really, really good. So let's dive right into the question. So maybe tell us a bit about yourself and your business.
So I'm Mathew Jensen. I run Jensen Lawn Care here in Othello, Washington. Size about 8,000 people. Small farming town. Um, I've been running it for officially 2 years, and yeah, I have roughly about 40 clients ish, but that all depends. But that's it's kind of where I'm at right now. Just kind of a small business starting to grow. Possibly thinking about hiring someone next year of some opportunities that are coming up. And yeah,
Okay, perfect. So is your lawn care business your main income, or is it just a side hustle?
it is my main income. So I do it during the summer. Last year and this winter, I am working construction
Okay,
for it's one of my clients who I do properties for. I mow their property and a couple other rentals for them as well. um just last year I was thinking like what to do during the winter. I could like either sub at the schools or um do something else, and they just kind of approached me like, hey, we we are always in need of people, so you want to come work for us? So went for work for them last winter, and that's what I'm doing right now if it doesn't snow. If it
yeah,
does snow, then I do have what I did this morning. I do have about four clients that I take care of for snow removal. And so I'm slowly getting into the snow removal game. It doesn't snow much here.
okay,
So really it's a hit and miss
okay,
for that. So
okay. So yeah, so you mentioned there that it doesn't snow as much there. So just for context, you said you're from Washington. When people think Washington, they think Seattle, the coast, rain, all that sort of stuff. But you're in a different area. You mentioned a little bit about it that in the introduction, but maybe explain more sort of your geographical area, because you were saying you're more to the east side.
yes, so I'm about um, three and a half, 3.5 to 4-ish hours, depends on who drives, from Seattle, um, in in pretty much the desert.
Okay.
Around here, there's pretty much sagebrush and farmland.
Oh wow.
So I the next closest towns are about 30 minutes to 60 minutes away, and in between there, it's either farmland or sagebrush. And
Okay.
so we get pretty hot. It gets about depending on the year, we usually hit 100, but
Oh wow.
sometimes we hit 110 or so.
Hmm.
And then during the winter, it's really a hit and miss. Like there's winters where we get no snow, but then
Hmm.
there's like last year we had no snow up until February. In February, it just dumped,
Oh.
and yeah, we were pretty much snowed out of everything for a week or so. It was pretty bad. um, but yeah, other than that, like it's really sparse for the weather. But we are in the desert, so it is very hot during the summers. So if you don't have sprinkler systems here, your lawn will die pretty much.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay, cool. So yeah, so that gives us some sort of context on where you're from there exactly, and it's not the traditional rainy part of Washington.
No,
Um,
it does not.
so, what first attracted you to the lawn care industry, and maybe made you want to start your own business?
So I started when my when one of my brothers, so I'm the youngest of 10, and one of my brothers, he was either heading off to college or on a mission, and he's like, hey, I need to make some extra money. And so my dad was like, okay, we can ask to see if someone wants their lawn mowed. So
Hmm.
we got like I think 7 with that one, and we started, and since we're just kind of like in a big family, we would just help, and essentially our helping him was just our room and board. We
Okay.
didn't
Yeah.
get paid.
Yeah.
And we actually had like the push mowers, not self-propelled, like
Oh, okay.
push
Yeah.
mowers. Um, so got a couple there. Then someone else in our church, they actually left on a mission, like the son did, and the dad was like, I don't want to mow these lawns. Do you
Mm.
guys want to mow them? So
Mm.
we picked up about 10 more there.
Oh.
And so like, that kind of got the ball rolling. I didn't like it at that time because I was push mowing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was pretty much the mule, and like anything we did, I was doing the hard labor. Um, and it just slowly kept growing. We eventually redid our whole front yard because we had a main line break to our house.
Okay.
So we tore up our whole yard, and when we did it, we did sprinklers and sod, and people would just pass by saying, "Hey, can you do ours? Hey, can you do ours?" And we're
Mm-hmm.
like, we're not professionals, we're just doing it, but sure, we'll do it for you." So
Mm-hmm.
that just slowly led to year after year after year to where it is now. um to about it's regular clients about 40.
Okay.
I'm getting up to the 50 range, but
Nice.
um yeah, so it's just slowly growing over that. So we really kind of do everything. We Lawn mowing is kind of like the bread and butter, but we've installed sprinklers, sod, fence, tree removal, shrub removal, tree trimming, shrub trimming, cut
Okay.
kind of almost everything you could do outside. We've kind of done it. So
Okay. So do you have, you keep referring to we, do you have employees, or are you just a one-man operation?
I'm probably still saying we because my dad. So because
Yeah.
my dad, he just at the beginning of last year, um left on they my parents went on a mission.
Okay.
And before I actually came back here, I went to school for business finance,
Mm-hmm.
and I was actually down in Utah, and I did the whole desk job. I was working for a penny stock company and kind of doing that, and I didn't like it. I didn't like sitting at a desk just doing mundane stuff over and over. And um, I actually started working part time for someone in my apartment complex, and was doing that part time. And my wife saw that, hey, you're happier doing that. So, like, do you want to do that? And
Mm.
so once my parents wanted to go on a mission, they're like, hey, come take over the business, and if you want to have it, you can have it. So
All right.
came back here, and that's kind of what it. And so that's why I say we, because it used to be my dad, my brother, my brother-in-law. And
Okay.
when I do sprinkler jobs and other big jobs, I do have my brother-in-law come help.
Okay.
So, but for the mowing stuff, it's just me, and for other stuff, it's him. And I'm thinking maybe next year, with the stuff that's coming down the pipeline for my business, I might hire someone else. So
Okay. Very cool. How this next question is one that I love asking everybody, because the answer is always different, but there is no right or wrong answer. It's whatever it is, your answer. How would you define success?
I knew you were going to ask this question.
Mhm.
um, I would define success as finding joy in life, and um like, of course, provide for your means. Like, we need to provide for stuff, but I would really define success as being happy. Is that if I think if you're truly happy, then you're successful,
Mhm.
because you're happy. Well, like, what else can you want if you're happy?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, that's an awesome answer. And like I say, it's a different answer for everybody, but there is no right or wrong answer to that. But yeah, for me, it's very similar. It's that freedom of being happy, for that. Doing what I love to do, and not having people tell me when I can do it or when I can't do it or who to work for or who not to
Yep.
work for. Yeah, just that. It's just it all comes down to being happy, like you said. Um,
Yep.
so this next question is what size properties do you maintain and what type of equipment do you use to maintain them? So I use this question to um, basically give us context of the size of properties that you're using. So most people know that I use most of my stuff is with a 21-inch mower, and then I use that 32-inch and the 36-inch walk behind because it's all dense city type lots. So, what type of equipment do you use for your properties?
Um, so like we used to use just 21-inch mowers for
Okay.
like quarter acre properties,
Yep.
but we've improved. So right now I have a 48-inch John Deere Z920R. So a big 48-inch with a big old bagger on the back.
Hmm.
Um, and Up until this year, I just had that and a 21-inch mower.
Yep.
But at the beginning of this year, I actually bought a 36-inch mower,
Okay.
and that has almost completely eliminated the 21-inch mower.
Oh,
Yet
nice.
there's only two properties that it's like a little section that I like. Literally, I went from about push mowing 10 to 12 hours a week to push mowing 5 minutes a week.
Oh,
So and then so that's I have quite a few small ones here in town. I usually do them just with the 36-inch mower, and it takes me 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And then I do have a couple properties out of town. I think the biggest one is 2 acres, or I think
okay.
it's like 2 acres the land, and then like minus the house, so it's like probably easily an acre and a half
Mm,
of that. So I have about like 6 of those properties or so. So
mm-hmm. Nice. So you're using the 48 on on those ones.
yes. Well,
Yes.
a couple of them they just want it mulched, and so that's the other reason why I bought the 36-inch mower, is that I can just go as fast as I can and just side discharge it. So
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Is the 48, I'm assuming the 36 is a stand-on mower?
yes,
Okay. And the 48 is a ZTR or is it a
is it
stand-on?
is it it's a sit down, yeah. So the
Okay. Yeah.
48 is a sit down, the 36 is a stand on,
Okay.
which
Perfect.
I love that thing.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. They're fun, eh? The stand-on mowers.
Oh,
Yeah.
they are so fun. Like because I actually got mine just a little bit before you, and I remember watching your videos of like, yeah, it's kind of iffy when you're first doing it, and I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
like, yeah, after like a week or so, you get
Yeah.
used to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. 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 It's amazing. Like I remember using that, the Staris, and the sketchiest thing for me was hills with it. Um, but as the weeks got on, it was like, well, I'm like, it's actually, at first it was like, oh, this machine's no good on hills, sort of thing, right? And then as
Uh,
weeks went by, I was like, hey, wait a minute, that wasn't as bad as last week. And
yep,
the next week would come and be like even better. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's not the machine, maybe it's just me being nervous on it, and
yep.
that sort of thing, right? And once you get comfortable, it's like,
And I
oh,
think it's Yeah, I think it's also just like the way you approach a hill. Like if
yeah,
you like I know like some of mine like it's almost a 35-degree angle or so,
wow,
maybe a little bit more.
yeah, yeah,
And like sometimes like when I first tried it, I was trying to go sideways on it, and I
mm,
was like sliding down.
yeah, yeah,
But on some of those, you have to just go straight up it. And once I started doing that, I'm like, what was I complaining about? This is easy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. A lot of it is knowing the property, right? And
Yeah.
that, unfortunately brings up some like certain properties where you can't, change the pattern that you're mowing because of the
Hmm.
condition, like a hill like that, right? You have to go up and down. You can't change the direction and all that stuff. You can kind of overlap differently,
Yeah.
but there's only so much you can do
Yep.
there. But yeah, once you learn the machines, you get really proficient on them. I think the longest one for me was the walk behind. learning the controls. That was probably the
Uh-huh.
steepest learning curve for me, was that, because it's, it's the kind where if you let go, it just like keeps going, sort of thing, right? It doesn't
Uh-huh.
have a, um, I'm
Because it's
trying to
kind of
think of
set
the
on a
thing.
cruise control and just keeps going.
Yeah, because of the way you gotta like put it into gear and stuff. It's not like a lever that you can, the harder you squeeze, the, you start to go, and if you release, it slows down. It's the opposite of it, right? So it was a long,
Yep.
but now it's like there's no issue after
Yeah.
learning. Yeah, it's kind of interesting there. So you got a good range of property sizes there, and it's awesome that you're able to go from that push mowing to almost not push mowing now. That must be so much more efficient to do. I can only
Yes.
imagine. I wish I could do that on my on
Yeah,
my
no,
properties.
I went from mowing about 11 lawns on my Wednesday to
Hmm.
mowing 20 lawns on Wednesday.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's awesome.
it's yeah. So like so before I got the 36-inch, I was mowing Monday through Friday, probably about 8 to 10 hours a day easily. But then after getting the mower, I pretty much condensed it down to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then like 2, 3 hours on Monday and Friday.
Okay.
And then now this year I've added more, and so I'm full now, but it just makes me more efficient that I can add so many more clients, and it's
Hmm.
already paid for itself this
Yeah, yeah,
year, so it's
yeah.
nice.
No, that's I've seen with using mine, um, just how efficient it could be, but unfortunately, with a lot of the properties I do, I'm still stuck with push mowing because I'll be like
Yep.
doing, the front yard, and it's like, okay, well, the backyard, it has like two stairs to go down to, or two stairs to go up. And it's
Yep.
like, well, I can't take the, even though it would fit through the gate and stuff, I can't take the 32
Yep.
through there. Or they'll have, there's one that I do where they have this huge gate, but it's all like, 6 to 8 inch river rock that go from the side of the house to the backyard. There's no
Uh,
sidewalk or anything. And it's
so
like,
you
well,
sink down into
and
it.
it's like I wouldn't even be able to get the mower in there. It would get stuck going across, right? So then it's like, well, do I just do the front yard with the thing? But then I got to load it and tie it down and all that stuff. Then to take out the 21, it's just faster to just to do the whole thing
Yep.
with the 21 than to go, right?
Yep.
So yeah, unfortunately for me, I think I'm forever stuck with push mowing a lot of a
Sorry.
lot of yeah, a lot of robberies. Um, so, of your arsenal of tools, what is your current favorite tool, and why?
um, I would probably have to say that 36-inch. Like,
Hmm.
uh, I've I've been investing into the business the past 2 years of like buying new equipment and all that kind of stuff. So like the big two things that I bought this year that I love is that 36-inch mower and a backpack blower.
Oh, okay.
And that's just I mean, like, but really I would just say that if I had to pick between those two, the 36-inch mower,
Okay.
because there's I do an apartment complex, like
Hmm.
it's pretty much a whole city block, and um I usually mow most of it with the big one, but that 36-inch, I'm able to ride on it with the backpack blower and just like zoom and blow off all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
sidewalks, which before it would take me 20, 25 minutes to blow off all the sidewalks.
Hmm.
And now it takes me 7 minutes.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Working the conjunction of using them together.
yeah.
Very, very efficient. What backpack blower did you get?
The Steel BR 600.
Okay.
So like I don't know, like with my equipment, I pretty much only like my 21-inch mower. I had a Honda HR 216,
Yep.
um, and my other two mowers, the 48 and the 36, are John Deere's,
Okay.
and all my hand tools are pretty much steel, just
Yep.
because we're in a small town and that's pretty much all we have. Like we
Okay.
have the John Deere dealer, and then we have Ace, who's the steel dealer.
Okay.
And so that's kind of all I have. If I want something else, the next closest place is 30 minutes one way, or the bigger town, which is Tri-Cities, is an hour away.
Okay.
So if if I wanted to get other kind of into other equipment like Toro, Echo, or um, Skag, or any of those other
Yeah, yeah.
things, I would have to go farther away. And it would be all right if I'm slowly getting to mechanically savvy of like doing my own blades, doing my own oil changes.
Okay.
Right now I'm I'm buying all the tools that I can probably do that all next year.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now I've been taking it to someone to do the oil change, and
Okay.
that's kind of limited me on what equipment I could buy. So
Okay.
but I've heard so many good things about the Echo BR 8
8010.
8010. Is
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been seeing so many people love that thing. So I'm like, oh, I kind of want one, but there's not one around here. So
Yeah. 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 It's if you've got a lot of leaves to do, it's a crazy beast. I don't think. Well, currently, I think it's the most um, powerful blower that you can buy on the market. As
yeah,
far
that's
as
what I've heard.
as
Yeah.
far as like the CFMs that come out of it, it's like I think it's
Hmm.
1,072 CFMs, which is insanity for
Yep.
for a blower. Um, yeah, it's a nice unit. I
Oh
don't have
yeah.
one, but I've used it a couple times trying it out and stuff. And yeah, for
Uh,
the weight ratio being mostly carbon fiber frame and fan housing and stuff, it's amazing because you look at it and you're like, that thing's a monstrosity. Like, how am I going to put that on my back? And then you pick it up
it's
and
gonna
go,
weigh
oh,
so much.
yeah. But then you pick it up and you're like, oh, it weighs exactly the same as the little, 770 beside it, right? So
Yep.
yeah, it's interesting that they did that. Um, so do you offer any services that are not lawn care and landscaping related, like power washing, window cleaning, for example? I know you touched on that a little bit in the introduction.
Yeah. So kind of like I said before, I'm kind of getting into snow removal.
Yeah.
So kind
Are
of
you,
getting into that.
are you doing that with a
Sorry, what?
plow? Are you doing that with a plow or like a snow blower or?
So last year I just had a shovel.
Oh, okay, nice.
um
That works.
and so doing the apartment complex that I did it probably, yeah, last year it took probably easily an hour and a half to shovel it and to salt it all.
Hmm.
Um and So this year I actually just bought a snowblower. I actually bought the Ego blower,
Oh, okay.
battery powered one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and so I just used it first thing this morning,
Hmm.
and I love it.
Nice.
It saved me. It easily cut my time almost into a third from shoveling.
Hmm.
So, and I like it that it's battery. Like I looked into like if getting gas or battery powered, and why I went battery powered is that I can start earlier in the morning. I can start at
Mm,
4 or 5 in the morning and not have an engine going and
yeah,
waking
yeah.
up the whole apartment complex. And so
Yeah.
I was just like, I like to have battery powered. So
Hmm.
other than that, snow removal, yeah, really everything else is kind of lawn care related, of just like um, vinyl fence, sprinklers, and sod, kind of all that stuff. I really don't touch more outside of landscaping. That's kind of where my bread and butter is. What I've kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
done for the past what was it, 18 years or so. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, that's actually, I hadn't even thought about that as far as the snow removal part goes, but it totally makes sense. I remember when I was doing snow removal, I was doing with a snowblower, doing sidewalks and stuff, and I was working for um, a relative who had a whole bunch of snow removal contracts, and he was doing all of the parking lots with uh, front end loaders and bobcats and things like that. But he needed people to do sidewalks. And since I owned a snowblower and stuff, he subcontracted me to just do a bunch of commercial sites. And it would be like, working through the night, and there'd be like some, like commercial properties where it'd be like maybe a grocery store and some banks and things like that. But they're surrounded by townhouses, and I'd be doing these parking lots and, or sorry, these sidewalks on the outside perimeter at like 3 o'clock in the morning with this like gas powered machine. I felt so bad knowing that all these people are just like, one lane of traffic away from me, asleep, and here's
uh,
some tool coming along at 3 o'clock in the morning with this big noisy gas. But it was like there was no choice. There was so many properties to get through, you couldn't just do it during daylight hours. They expected it clean by daylight hours so that people could,
Yeah.
start moving around and stuff when they were all waking up, right? But it was like, oh man,
Yeah,
this
like
thing
all
is
that has to be
so,
cleared out by like
yeah,
5 or
yeah,
6 when everyone's coming into work.
yeah, yeah. And when it's nighttime like that, when the city is quiet, like there's no traffic on the roads, it's so much
Yep.
louder because there's no other noise to kind of drown it out, right? So it's just like,
Yep.
oh man, right? It's
Yep.
so loud. Yeah, I felt so bad. So that makes perfect sense to go with a battery powered one. How did
Yeah.
you find the performance of it so far your first day? As far as like the battery life was good and
So it was better than I expected.
okay.
Because before I make any purchase, I always do my due diligence and I
Yeah.
scour YouTube, scour the reviews on everything, and like
Hmm.
try to figure out what to buy. And so when I was kind of narrowing it down between a Toro and an Echo, um, like the Toro it's self-propelled because it touches down to the rubber on the cement. And what I kind of heard about with that one, just like watching videos with the sound, and then also what other people said, is that contact makes it louder because it's rubber just
Yeah, yeah.
hitting it and pulling it along. So, but yeah, so um, I heard a lot of people saying like, "Oh yeah, it doesn't do good in wet snow," which that's actually what we got last night,
Mm.
because it snowed about an inch to 11 o'clock, and then when I woke up at 4 to go check it, it had shrunk down to about half an inch, but it was like wet,
Yeah,
soggy
yeah,
snow. And so when I first started it, I'm like, this isn't doing like the job that I wanted it to. But what I had it is I had it completely turned to the side and the angle completely down. So it was trying to go straight up and shoot it out.
yeah. Oh, okay.
And wet snow doesn't do that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It just clogs up.
Yeah.
So once I actually angled it up, it actually did a fantastic job.
Oh, okay.
And it lasted my property, the whole apartment complex, and almost a whole nother property. I probably had like 3 more minutes left on that property
Oh, okay.
if I kept blowing it. So, and that was only with two 5 amp hour batteries.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm looking into buying two 7.5 amp hour
Okay.
batteries. And I'm like, once I buy that, I can, if I pick up 5, 6 more clients, I'll be good. So
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's funny because again, back on the noise, uh, I don't do snow removal anymore, but I still have my snow blower. And last year we
uh-huh.
had some snow, and I was like, I'll just take the snow blower out, right? But it was like even my wife, and it was like at 7 o'clock in the evening, and my wife's like, "What are you doing?" She came outside. She's like, "That thing's so loud." Just the neighbors are gonna think you're an idiot. Just shovel it like the rest of everybody else. So I was like, dang it, I can't even use
Well,
this thing anymore.
so because actually last night when it started snowing, I got home from basketball, and it was snowing. And as soon as I got home, my wife's like, "You get to go play with your new toy." So I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yes." So she was actually going to bed because I got back from basketball like at 10 o'clock. And I was like, "Sweet, I get to go try it out." And I went and I did the whole sidewalks in the front, and I came back in. She's like, "Did you turn it on?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I did. I did the whole front." She's like, "I didn't even hear it." And
Mm,
and she had the TV on, but like it wasn't loud. And so I'm
yeah, yeah,
like, that just goes to show like that's what I want. I don't
yeah,
want
yeah,
it loud. I want it
yeah,
to
yeah.
be able to. I can go in and out, and they don't even know that I was there.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. No, that's a huge advantage. And if you can get, obviously the biggest disadvantage is batteries and making sure you have enough power
yeah,
to get through. But if you can get the extra batteries, it's like, there's a no-brainer. Like the noise is brutal
yeah,
on those things, right? Especially in
yeah.
the evenings.
Well, and I'm thinking about getting I'm thinking about kind of getting some more echo stuff, like a pole trimmer or like other things like that. So I don't have to carry the mixed gas for that.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm thinking if I get a couple more batteries, and then I could just use that during the summer, and then use all the batteries for the snowblower
yeah,
in the
yeah.
winter. So
Yeah, yeah, that no, that makes sense, to have them, right? Where you can use multiple. tools and stuff. And like I say, like electric
Yep.
stuff, I think it's perfect for tools that you don't use often, right? Like
Mhm.
snow blowing, for example, right? You're going to snow blow it, and then the rest of
Mhm.
the year it sits and
Yep.
it's not doing anything, right? And that's the biggest thing I found with mine. That the carb would get clogged up. Then I'd go to start it, and then the cord breaks, and something else happens, and you
Yep.
neglect that stuff throughout the summer, because it's not snowing, it's not winter, it's in the back of
Yeah.
your mind, right? And then the time comes and you need it, and it's like now there's all these issues, and you're trying to deal with it, and it's like, oh, just put a battery in and turn it on, and away you go with none
Yep.
of that is
Yeah, no,
huge.
I have battery powered chainsaws and hedge trimmers, and I'm like, oh, I'm sticking with battery powered for that kind of stuff
Yeah, yeah,
because like it's not in your face, you don't
yeah,
smell
yeah.
all that kind of stuff. It's quiet. It's so nice.
Yeah, yeah, it is so nice. So you mentioned doing apartments there. What type of work do you prefer, commercial or residential, and why?
So I've been slowly getting into the commercial.
Hmm.
I just bid on a property this year, kind of going into next year, and like I said, I do a couple of rentals for the person I'm working for right now, and I would have to say it's kind of nice to have a little like I kind of like a mix. I don't like all just residential and all commercial. I like to have. I would probably want to say I'd want to get it to a 60-40, 60 residential and 40% um, commercial because the
Okay.
commercial ones right now I can go and I can start mowing at 7 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning and not bother anyone because a couple of
Okay.
them are out of town. And so I'm like, so I'm not bothering anyone. And so I can get an early start there. But I've kind of found my bread and butter is the residential is
Hmm.
just do a quick mow, trim, blow, and out of there. I'm kind of like you. I'm kind of um, OCD and like I just like to do something real quick and just be done with it and not
Yeah, yeah,
be there for hours on
yeah,
end.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And so I like the quick in and out, in and out, in and
yeah,
out.
yeah.
And I've really found for my business for right now, that's kind of where I can make a better profit margin than for commercial.
Hmm.
Is that I'm barely getting into commercial, but I kind of find out that it's pretty much just a price war.
Hmm.
Is that, oh, someone else will do it for $5 cheaper? Okay, we're gonna go with them. And it's like I don't want to be always trying to drop my price lower and lower
Yeah,
just to
yeah.
get that job. I want to build a relationship with clients of like, hey, I've been mowing your yard for 10 years, um, and I'm gonna hopefully continue mowing it for another 10 years. So
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. No, it totally makes sense. Same. I've had the same experience, and it's funny because there's a neighborhood that I do some houses in, and they're surrounded by some commercial townhouses and stuff that have these other companies doing them, and they just at times don't show up for a long time, and they don't do certain things, and it's because they've underbid. They and there's one like they never do any of the edging or anything. It's all overgrown and stuff, and it's because hey, they went in as the cheapest bid, and now they're finding out that it's taken way too long, so they're cutting corners and stuff, and it's just like, this is what you get, right? If you want it to look nice, you gotta,
yep,
you can't base it on just price all the
yep.
time.
Which
So yeah,
a couple people have approached me this year for like some other duplexes and whatnot, and that's the same reason why they're coming to me. They're like, yeah, he doesn't trim very much. Um, I think he mows every week. They don't check on it that often,
hmm,
but they're like, yeah, like sometimes he skips a week and whatnot. But I'm like, for me, like I'm there every single week, like no
yeah, yeah,
matter what. And
yeah, yeah,
so like, but then they're saying like, oh, well, he's at this price. I'm like, maybe that's why he's not showing up because it's not worth
yeah,
that.
yeah,
It's worth this. So
yeah, yeah. 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 The other thing I always tell people too is kind of funny is like, um, if your guy, like, and it's just kind of not that everybody does this, but for me, at least when I'm doing a residential property and I finish it almost on a weekly basis, I'm taking a picture of it because it looks so good with the edging and everything, right?
Uh,
Take a picture for Instagram or something like that, right? And it's like, if your guy's not doing that, there's something wrong, right? He should have such pride
yeah.
in his work each week that it looks so good that he's like, I know I took a picture of this last week and this picture is going to look exactly the same, but I'm taking another picture because this, the sun, the way it's hitting it or the stripe or that edge, it just looks so
Uh,
good. Right. I got to take a picture of this, right? So it's
if
kind
your
of,
lawn care guy doesn't feel good taking a picture after, you might want to change.
yeah, yeah. So this next question is probably one of the ones that gives people pause for thought, and that is: share with us a time you struggled in your business and what you learned or did to overcome it.
I would probably say what I struggled with. So last year kind of was the first year I kind of took over the business, and then this last year, um, I'd probably say my first year I was horrible at pricing things.
Okay.
Um, I I did not price things the way that they should have, um, and I think that was probably my biggest struggle of of not knowing my worth.
Okay.
Um, like this year, I've done a lot better this year, and hopefully I can do a little bit better next year. Because of course I'm not perfect and I made mistakes this year. But last year I did so much work where I probably made less than minimum wage, and I'm
Mm.
like, what? Like, oh my gosh, like I just did that for this much? Like, really? Like, I
Yeah.
could have gone work. I could have gone worked somewhere, for someone else and made more money. And so that was my struggle of knowing my worth and to be able to, and kind of with that, raising prices.
Okay.
Um, that's what I kind of did at the beginning of this year. And luckily, a lot of people, you included and others on YouTube, um, kind of told how you should raise your prices and kind of do it in a kind of a nice way, not just being like, "Boom, this is the new
Mhm.
price." um, but kind of talking to them, saying like, "Hey, like, I really can't afford to do this because of my overhead. I'm not making any money," and kind of approaching them. So, um, really knowing my worth and raising prices, I did that horribly. I'm doing better. Hopefully, I can still do better and make a good profit. So,
Okay, very good. Yeah, it's always probably one of the biggest struggles I think people have when they're going into the business is that pricing and just having to know your numbers. It does get easier over time, as I'm sure
yep.
you're aware. But yeah, that's probably one of the most common things I would say. Um, so, what is your favorite thing about being self-employed?
um, kind of what's said before, freedom.
Yeah, yeah.
I've had actually about three other job opportunities actually come my way of me being able to go and work for them, like work for someone else.
Hmm.
But especially after this year of like kind of pricing things a lot better and like actually making the money that I should off of a job, I'm
Hmm.
like, I almost can't go back to work like for a long period of time, go back to work for someone else because of the freedom that I have. There's so many times. So this year we had our second child, and there's several times where my wife had to go to the doctor, or like they like both the kids were sick and she needed help. I was able to be like, okay, I'll start later today. Instead of starting at 7:30, I'll start at 9:30 and I'll just work later into the evening and I'll just like help her out. Or hey, she needs me to come home for an hour for the kids. I'll just I'll take from 3 to 4 off, while she goes takes one to the doctor or for a checkup, and I can come take care of the other one.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, really just the freedom of kind of working when I want to.
Okay.
Granted, yes, if you don't work, you don't make money, but really just the freedom that it brings of, hey, I can take off a little bit of time to spend with family or to do something else. and I don't have to live on the schedule of someone else being like, kind of like you, if you don't show up, you're fired. Like
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
it. So
Okay, awesome. Actually, I just thought of um, another question, literally that just popped in my head that I've never asked anybody before, and I'm sitting here going, "Why have I never asked anybody in any interview this question?" And it's related to equipment, um, and that is, so you'll be the first to get this question, and I think it'll be
all
one that
right,
I
I'm
ask.
ready.
It'll be one that I ask from now on, and it's, what type of rig do you run in your lawn care business? As far as, do you use a van, a truck, a trailer,
Uh-huh.
open trailer, an enclosed trailer? What do you run?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you haven't asked that question.
No.
So before, um, so last year I was running my dad's truck,
Okay.
and he's he's run like he's run Chevy 1500s for
Okay.
forever,
Yeah.
except for last year he actually got a Ford F-150,
Okay.
but it already has like 279 100 miles on it.
Okay.
So it's on its last thing. It's sitting in the across the street. It hasn't moved for the whole summer.
Yeah.
But I recently bought last year a Ford F-250.
Nice.
But it was all like, the only bad thing why it was so cheap, why I got it, is that it's not four-wheel drive.
Oh, okay.
So
But you don't get
so
that
that's
much
also
snow,
why I
you were
have.
saying.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm like, and that's why I haven't bought a plow for it and kind of gotten to that. But I'm like, if I'm just hauling during the summer, I don't need four-wheel drive. And like,
Yeah.
I'm really not going off road. Like, yes, there's a couple of gravel roads and a couple of dirt roads that I have to go on, but they're usually not like super wet and super muddy to where
Hmm.
like I have to get four-wheel drive to get through it. And so, yeah, so it's a Ford I think it's a 2003 or
Okay.
2004 F-250. And then I bought a trailer this year, and that's a, wow, it's a 8 by 16.
Okay.
So,
Open trailer.
yep. Yep.
Yep.
Oh yeah, 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 utility trailer.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. And how do you like that setup of using an open utility trailer?
I love it for like what we do. Um, it because it's so versatile. I do want to get like possibly a dump trailer for like
Okay.
when we do bigger jobs and stuff like that. But really with the utility trailer, we can pretty much do anything. Um, because I put my mowers on it, but then if I like last year I cut down, I think it was 5 80-foot tall trees, and I cut them all
Cool.
down, and I was able to stack it up high
Hmm.
and be able to just strap it and just take it. So,
Okay.
and then also when we do sprinkler jobs, I'm able to
Okay. Yeah.
um, put the pipe on there. And actually this trailer, which I love, it actually has the two front 4 feet of the rails actually detach and they become ramps on one side.
Oh, nice.
So technically it's like used for like four-wheelers and stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I've actually used that for the mowers a couple times, of moving the 36-inch on the front and just having the 48-inch on the back. But I also bought it for when I buy fertilizer, is I can take off the rail and the forklift just come right to the front of it and drop the pallet of fertilizer.
Oh, nice.
And so like I love that thing. So
Awesome. Yeah. Very cool. So, in what ways do you market your business, and maybe share your number one marketing tip?
So my dad has never advertised. Like, it was all organic, just
Hmm.
referrals. Um, just this year, that's when I started like actually a little bit advertising a little bit more. I used your YouTube video, and created my own website.
Okay.
And so I have a website. I do have Google My Business, or Google My Places, or Google My Business, one of those.
Yep.
Um, but I I actually haven't really done any flyers or door hangers. I haven't done any of that, just because I'm almost getting enough work as it is, just coming through those. And really with the website, I have a free estimate, and so I've been getting stuff through that. But I'm thinking of this coming next year
Okay.
about either doing direct mail or possibly having some of my nieces and nephews go out and do like flyers or door hangers or something like
Yeah.
that, just to kind of just to kind of get a little bit more reach of kind of
Hmm.
like, kind of eliminating the lower end clients and getting kind of higher end clients. So I haven't done technically that much of marketing yet, but I'm hoping to do that next year.
Okay. Perfect. So in your business, do you use any software to manage the business as far as keeping track of clients, maybe doing your invoices and stuff, or do you do it like handwritten?
No, I do not do my dad's way. My dad's way was handwritten, and him and my mom combined, they would spend about 10 hours a month doing
Hmm.
billing.
Okay.
And um yeah, no, I don't do that. I've been with Yardbook um for so far, just the past year and a half I've been doing that, and I love it, able to just email out invoices and track stuff like that. I've been hearing a lot about Jobber, and so I think I might want to give them a try. I'm not sure yet. I do know that I will eventually have to pay for a software
Hmm.
for my business, just to make things a lot more efficient and easier. So
Okay.
like right now I'm kind of going the free way
Yeah. Yeah.
and doing yard book, but I think either next year or the year after that, that's when I might take that next step of kind of maybe going to Jobber or Service Autopilot. I'm not sure yet. I'm just
Yeah.
kind of looking for that.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. Yardbook is pretty robust for what it is for free software. It does quite a bit. I think it just lacks in a lot of the reports and stuff if you need, um, that sort of stuff.
Uh,
But yeah,
yeah,
it's
and they're adding a couple more, and you can pay for the premium one, but like for right now, I'm like, I really don't need that. So, but I know if I do hire someone, I will upgrade it into a
mm,
system. So,
very cool. For me, I started out with just handwriting them with with like I had custom invoice pads made with the logo and
uh,
everything, and they had like the carbon copy and stuff. So you'd write it and
yeah,
rip off the copy for the customer, and yeah, that was a long time ago.
yeah.
Um, so one of the most common questions I get in my business is, what do you do in the wintertime? So is there a winter or off season in your business? And if so, what do you do in the winter? So you obviously touched on doing some snow, but you also mentioned that you don't get as much snow where you are there. So what do you do in the winter, or what do you plan to do and those years where you don't get that snow?
Yeah, so yes, there is an off season. It depends on the year. Sometimes it's March. This year was April because we had a late kind of push for snow. It's usually March, April to October
Okay.
for mowing, leaves, thatching, all that kind of stuff, and then the rest of it's off. And so, yeah, right now, the past 2 years, I've been working construction, and I kind of want to get more into. I actually want to get to the point where um, lawn care, as I pretty much do that all year, and then have snow removal into winter if it happens.
Okay.
But I actually kind of like the break a little bit, and my wife does
Hmm.
too. Being able to like go because she's from Texas, and so we like to go down Texas when it's cold up here. So,
Hmm.
um, so yeah, like just being able to spend that kind of quality time of like 4 or 5 months, kind of more with family. That I want to get to that point. Right now, the business isn't to that point where I can completely go no working for those 4 or 5 months. So right now I'm just working construction, um, and hopefully in future years, just to do snow removal.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, very good. Yeah. Again, that goes back to that freedom and flexibility, right?
Yep.
Of being able to do that. It is a nice break to have, after a long season, because you do have to give 100% when the season's on. There's no, it basically goes, it's like a light switch, right? It's
Yep.
like spring comes and that light switch gets turned on, and it's like goes from 0 to 100 miles an hour, faster than any Tesla could ever.
Yep. Yep.
It's just like, and whether you're in shape or you're not in shape, you better, get to it quick,
Yeah.
right? Because that's
Yeah.
your opportunity.
Yeah. And and I'll admit this to myself is that I know, especially last year, and then the beginning of this year, especially last year, this year I did a little bit better, is that I kind of, when that light switch kind of goes on, since the winter time's kind of a little bit slower, I kind of like slowly ease back into it. But
Hmm.
I've kind of learned like the past couple of years, I'm like, this is where I can make a lot of money. Like if I
Hmm.
just go out and work a lot more.
Yeah.
And so like, and I do work a lot. Not to say I'm lazy, but I just like with family of just spending that kind of quality time with them is that like I'll get up and I'm like, it's kind of soggy outside. I'll start at 10.
Hmm.
Like I'll play with the kids this morning. I'll start at 10. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's just one of those things. Lots of opportunity once
but
that
but
season
next year
starts.
I'm hitting the ground running.
There you go. So, what are your future plans or goals for your business?
So of course, when I first started, I want to have like 10 crews. I want to be in all these towns. I want to be doing all this stuff. But I've kind of found that I would eventually want to get to the point where I probably have like 2 trucks, maybe 3, like by the time it's probably like I want to stop, because I do like having a low overhead as possible. And but once you start adding more crews, you add more expenses, more overhead, more headaches, all that kind of stuff. And I've seen people interview people that run $1 million companies, and it's more of headaches once you get to that point. And I'm
Hmm.
like, I don't. I'm fine with not running $1 million company. Like, you know, even if it's less than half a million or a little bit less than that, like I'll be fine with that. Like
Hmm.
I don't need the fanciest things. Like, yes, it would like to be nice to have a Tesla, but
Yeah.
uh, like other than that, I don't think I really need like a lot of the fancy stuff. Like, granted, I do want to get my wife a Buick. She
Hmm.
she wants to have one of those, so I eventually want to get her a Buick up
Okay.
to there.
Yeah.
So, but I would want to have just about 2 crews,
Hmm.
just so the fact that if I don't show up, that the business can still run. And
Hmm.
as of right now, if I don't show up, the business falls apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do want to get to that point. Maybe it's just one other crew, maybe just 1 truck, and we
Hmm.
just kind of tag team it with a couple other people. But I would want to say just 2 trucks, maybe going, and that's kind of what I want to settle at. So,
Okay. Perfect. So this next question is a bit of a fun one, and another one that kind of gives people pause for thought, and that is, what's the weirdest thing that you've seen or has happened to you during your business?
oh man, Ah, and I've heard you ask this question, and I was like, what have I saw that's weird? Or
Or has happened to you?
yeah,
It's yeah,
yeah. Um,
I got a whole bunch of
well,
them.
what's kind of like, yeah, I've heard them.
Yeah.
Is that I would probably like, I don't know, it's kind of almost kind of like a customer kind of ordeal situation. Is that so? This past year, when I did my price increase,
Hmm.
I was mowing at a certain price, and I raised it. So I was mowing hers and a duplex for her, and I raised each one $5.
Okay.
So there's 2 duplexes. So essentially, I raised it $15 like in total
Yeah.
per week. So $60 a month.
Mhm.
And um she um so she's a doctor.
Okay.
And so once I raised the price, she's like, "Oh, okay, we're just gonna do it ourselves."
Mhm.
And so I'm like, okay, like I don't like I was like actually really low, like raising up here, I'm kind of with everyone else.
Yeah.
And I know another landscaper in town. We kind of we kind of not what's it called? We collaborate together and
Okay.
kind of help each other out. Like if like
Mhm.
I gave him a lot of work last year, and if he needs help, I kind of help him. So like it's nice to have friends like that.
Yeah.
And so he called me up and he said, "Hey, did you drop them?" And I'm like, "Well, I raised the price $5." So I didn't drop them; they dropped me. And he said, "Oh, well, they're asking me for a quote. Do you want me to give it to them?" I'm like, "Well, what's your price?" And he was, for my original, he was 15. So he actually raised it 10 more after I raised mine.
Oh.
And I'm like, well, hey, if you're going to quote them that, if they're really saying like, oh, like that's too much for us, like they should come back to me. Like,
Mhm.
and so he's like, okay, I'll give him a quote. And he gave him a quote and they took it.
Oh.
And so I actually mow their next door neighbors. And so when I went and started mowing, she came running out when I was mowing like right next to hers. She's like, "Hey, I thought we were good. Like no cutting. You're not cutting my lawn." And I'm like, "I'm not. I'm on their property. I'm on the next door neighbor."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "Oh, so did you find someone else to mow your lawn?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, they're way cheaper than you." And
Yeah.
I was, and after she said that, I'm like, you're lying right now, right?
Yeah.
Like I talk to him almost on a daily basis, and he's higher than me, so he's not cheaper
Yeah.
than me.
Yeah. Yeah.
so that was kind of like something that happened this year that I was kind of like way kind of out of I kind of feel that it was way out of left field.
Yeah. Yeah.
um I've seen other stuff. I've I've hit mice and snakes with the trimmer on
Oh yeah.
accident and been
Yeah.
covered with blood
Oh.
and guts.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
Yikes.
those experiences, and probably, oh, I did think of another one is that one time one of the clients watered so much, and it was in a shady area.
Mhm.
And this was back when I was still coming back home from college and working during the summers.
Okay.
And I had the big 48-inch mower, big bagger on it and everything. And I start to go to this corner, and all of a sudden I kind of feel it go down a little bit, and I'm like, and I kind of slow down, and I see the front wheels just kind of going down. I'm like, oh, that's not good. I should start to go back. So I start to pull back, and all of a sudden the back wheels
Oh
shift
no.
down 2-3 inches, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh crap. So being the genius that I was, I thought I could ram myself out of there.
Mm.
So I start going forward as hard as possible, going back as hard as possible, all while the wheels just go lower
Just go
and
lower and
lower
lower.
and
Yeah.
lower. And so by the time I was done, I would only step up 6 inches from where I was sitting on the zero mower up to the ground.
Mm.
So the seat was almost level with the ground. So it was
Mm.
down about,
Wow.
I'd probably say 2.5, maybe more feet.
Wow.
So it was bad. So like by the time that all happened, I called my dad. I'm like, hey, I got the mower stuck. And he's like, well, what happened? I'm like, well, it was kind of wet, and I kind of thought I could get out, and I couldn't. So he was working at the school at the time. So he's like, okay, I'll be over in an hour or so. So he came, and we were able to pull it out. But yeah, it was a super deep hole
Wow.
after we pulled that mower out. And and the funny thing was is that I went back to school that Saturday, because it was the end of the summer. And so I pretty much left that big, huge hole in that yard for my dad to clean up, who couldn't do it for another like 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh,
So yeah.
yeah. Those are rough when it gets, you get a big mower stuck. It's tough. It's one of the reasons I ended up getting rid of my walker, was just because the weight and sogginess here is a constant thing.
Yep.
So that was a normal thing. It would get stuck, and it was just by sheer luckily every time it would get stuck, it just happened to be always by a fence. So
Yep.
I would have like the fence posts that are going into the ground, and just by sheer determination of putting like my back against the big hopper box on the walker and putting my feet up on the little bit of like 1 inch of post that was exposed where the fence boards
Uh-huh.
are, I'd just like push the thing out of the hole with my back. It's just like, what the heck, this is crazy. But you feel so bad because,
Yep.
like, man,
Or
I'm
getting
like,
someone else's help. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, man, you're supposed to be making the lawn look better, not turning it into this big mud pit when you leave. It looks,
Yep.
it would have been better if you just left it.
Yep.
Yeah, so those are some fun stories there. So what is, would you say, one hidden pitfall with running a lawn care business that you see that prevents people from succeeding?
I kind of also struggle with this, but I would probably say being a people pleaser
Okay.
is that um is that I could probably go on to stories of how I've kind of done that in the past, but
Mm-hmm.
you can't make everyone happy.
Mm-hmm.
Is that if you try to make every single person happy, you're going to be miserable.
Mm-hmm.
Um I I've done that. So I especially last year with the first year taking it over, is that there's so many times where like I said yes to everything just to make them happy. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
like I'm gonna do this just because you said so.
yeah, yeah,
And a lot of times it bit me in the butt
yeah,
of coming back to come back to haunt me. And
yeah,
I've just really found out, as kind of like being a business owner, is that um yes, there's going to be some unhappy people, and like yes, you have to kind of confront those problems when they come
yeah.
up in those situations. But you can't make everyone happy. Like if
Mm-hmm.
but you can strive. Like I feel kind of like what Brian from Brian's Lawn Maintenance says is a B plus,
Yeah,
with all of it. Like he's like, I can guarantee you a B plus, and like that's kind of what it's going to be.
yeah,
And like I want to strive for an A. Like I want to get that A minus, or like maybe
yeah,
an A plus. But really, if you try to make everyone happy, you're going to end up miserable.
yeah,
And if you're miserable, then your wife's miserable, and
yeah,
that all goes to heck. But so
yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great answer, and it's something I'm totally guilty of too. I would always say yes to things that customers are asking for because you want to please the customer, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, I really don't want to do that, or I don't want to. And then you end up putting it off, and 1 week turns into 2 weeks, turns into 3 weeks, and then they're going, when are you going to do that thing I asked you to do? Oh yeah, I've just been really busy and stuff, and it's just like you just don't want to, do it. It's like, man, this
yep,
is not good. I should have just said no right from the beginning, that I didn't want to do it,
yep.
or and you just yeah, you can't please everybody. You
and
just gotta,
and and really sticking to your guns of
yeah,
like, and that's what I've found out, like with pricing, is that if you want to satisfy someone and like get something for a certain price, and you're just like, oh, if I go a little bit lower, I know I'll get it. It's like, no, like bid it right.
mm-hmm,
Do like know what your worth is,
yeah,
because there's so many times that last year, like I would say yes, like, oh yes, I'll do that, yes, I'll do that, and I work, and I was miserable doing it, like I put it
yeah,
off for so long, and I'm like, why am I putting this off? Oh yeah, because I don't want to do it, because I underbid it, or I hate it.
yeah,
It's just like, so like, yeah, just I
yeah,
kind of with going with that is like sticking to your guns of
yeah,
like, or like not maybe sticking to your guns with price, but maybe sticking to a certain amount of services of I know I did that last year and this year a little bit. Hopefully next year I get better of saying, okay, I'm only sticking in with these services. If anyone asks for that, I don't offer it. If anyone asks for that, I don't offer it. If
Yeah.
that means I lose the client, that's
Yeah. Yeah.
tough. But like I know I need to focus on this to be
Yeah.
profitable. So
Yeah. 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 Because that's the thing, right? And a lot of people don't understand that. They think, oh, if I just bid it $5 cheaper, or 10 just to get the job, or whatever it is that you tend to do when you're starting because you want to build clientele.
mhm.
You don't understand that you will be miserable every time. You will from the time you wake up and you start doing, you're going to be thinking about that job, thinking about how you hate having to go over there to go do that job. You're going to do that job. You're going to be cursing under your breath the whole time while you're doing it. You're going to cut corners, even though you say that you don't do that and that you provide the best quality and stuff. You are going to cut corners because you're peeved off that thing. But the only one to blame is yourself, because you're the one that gave them that price and you're the one that
Yep.
accepted that price, right? So yeah,
And
once
I did that so much, and I was like, oh, and part of me would say, okay, next month I'm gonna tell him I'm gonna increase the price,
yeah,
but then I wouldn't, and
yeah,
then next month I'm gonna tell, but then I got to the point where I'm like, okay, if I bid it, I'm sticking through the summer. If
yeah,
I make a mistake, I made that mistake. I gotta live through it. But next summer, I'm raising to where it should be. But yeah, all those things you said, I
yeah,
have done of
yeah,
of either possibly like either like not cutting a certain part or
yeah,
just mumbling under my breath, or like I would be listening to audiobooks or like or other stuff, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, why am I in a bad mood? Oh, it's because I'm at this lawn that I hate.
yeah, 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 yeah. It's those things you got to learn to, and everybody will go through it. You can't
Yep.
it's one of those things, right? It's like
Yeah, just experience.
yeah, it's those things that you can't the person has to learn for themselves. It's like a teenager growing up. You can tell them about all the mistakes you've made, but they're not going to listen until they learn them for themselves and go through
Yep.
them, right? It's that
They're
type
still
of
gonna put
thing.
their hand on the stove.
Yeah, yeah. So if you were to start a lawn care business all over again, what is one thing that you would do differently?
I would, man, haven't thought of that one. What I would do differently. One, I would make sure that I have the business before I buy the equipment.
Mm,
That that's one thing that I would do instead
okay.
of going out and trying to. Granted, like I didn't do that as much. Like I feel like I made a good purchase this year with the 36-inch mower, but I did it with a couple of other little hand tools and stuff.
Okay.
And I think, oh yeah, well if I buy or spray or something, like, oh yeah, if I buy this, like, I'll have I can advertise for this, and I never did, or I
Mm,
didn't. I advertised it, or I mean, I talked to people, and they're like, oh no, I don't want that. Oh well, I bought this equipment, and it's just gonna sit here.
yeah.
So that's one thing that I would say is to make sure you have the business before you buy the equipment.
Yeah.
And then I would probably say have an online system. Is
Mm,
that last year I was kind of kind of shifting over from my dad, from being he was just all paper, and I was transferring it to computer. And I would feel that if you have it all computer right away off the bat and just have that as your platform, I
yeah.
feel that I would definitely do that first, of
Okay.
making sure I have an online system going so that it can do it all for me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, that's lots of great lessons that are learned. And again, something that you see all the time. People will say, they're going to start a lawn care business. And the first thing they think is, let me go to the dealer and drop $8,000 on a mower or a thing. It's like, do you have any customers? Right? Like, think about how long it'll take you to get customers versus how long it would take you to go into the dealer to buy that mower. It'll take you 30 minutes to go buy that mower. So why are you so, ready to go drop $8,000 on that before you have any customers? Go build up your customers first. Use a push mower if you have to, whatever you have,
Yep.
for the first couple weeks. And then you take 30 minutes, you can go to your dealer and pick up a mower. Even if you do it once you've got those accounts, like without even push mowing, and you've got the
Uh-huh.
accounts lined up and you're going to go do the first cut, then go buy it that day. It takes you 30 minutes, right? Why doing that
Yep.
before you, um, have that work? That's an awesome tip.
Yeah,
Um,
because
yeah.
there's a guy that's an hour away. One of the people in town here bought a mower from
Mm-hmm.
them because of that same reason, is that his son wanted to get into the lawn mowing business, and so he went out and bought an $18,000 machine and like all the equipment and whatnot. And then I think it was before the end of the year, he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. And so they bought it off of Craigslist. The person here bought it off of Craigslist from them, and they're like, why are you selling it? And he's like, oh well, oh sorry, not because he didn't like it, is that he didn't get enough customers. And
Mm,
he's like, oh, I can't survive, like, so I'm
yeah.
not going to do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And you see it all the time. So what is your biggest frustration about running a lawn care business?
myself.
Okay. Interesting.
um uh I say that because um I sometimes put things off.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I put off the online stuff and doing all that kind of stuff. So like I probably am my own worst enemy, I would probably say, is that sometimes I'm not the best at, making sure everything's pretty much lined up in a row for me to click that one button to send all the invoices at the end of the month. Like right now with using Yardbook, um, I kind of, because I do a lot of odd little jobs, I have to add it to the invoices. And so sometimes at the end of the month, instead of sending it out at the first of the very first day of the month, sometimes it will be a week. And one time it was 2 weeks into the next month until I sent the invoices for the previous month.
Mm,
And so I would probably say, yeah, it's pretty much myself, of like doing some of the stuff that I don't like to do, or just time consuming. And like, at the end of a work day, I get home and I'm like, oh, I'll spend time with the kids instead of hop on for 20 minutes and do that, which I could technically do after they go to sleep. So I would probably say, yeah, like myself, and then also problem clients, I would probably say, is
okay.
the other one, of clients that are just trying to get the cheapest of anything. Of like, they just want a straight mow, they don't want to trim it, they don't want it like, like they'll have you um pretty much, they just want the cheapest prices possible. And if that means trimming once a month, then okay, yeah, just trim once a month and it'll be a little bit cheaper. So like,
Mm-hmm.
kind of those clients I have really developed a frustration for.
Okay.
And so I'm trying to get rid of some of those clients, but um again, I think it comes back to myself because I'm keeping those clients on.
Okay.
So
Yeah, it's one of those things, right? You gotta, when that pain level becomes too much to bear, that tipping point, before you start
mhm.
actually, doing something about it.
Yep.
It's something you got to go through, right? You kind of balance it with the clients that you have, and you kind of go on that teeter totter of, yeah, this. It's like me with dog waste clients, right? It just drives me nuts. But at the same time, there might be, um, years or stuff that it's like, well, it's not that bad. They're a good client in the other sense that I never have to worry about payments. Their credit card's always on file. It's always up to date. They don't complain about the price. They don't thing, even if I charge them for dog waste and things like that. So it's a frustration, but at the same time, there's other customers that might be more nitpicky about things that are a pain, that don't have dog waste, but they're kind of a pain versus. So you have that sort of balance, right? Where it's like, yes, it's a
Yep.
frustration, but so it just depends on the day.
Yep.
Um, so what is one resource that you use the most in building your lawn care business? Could be things like maybe YouTube or podcasts or library books or whatever, or a person.
Mhm. I would I'd probably say the biggest resource like that I've probably used the most like in my whole time of doing lawn care. Um I would probably say YouTube.
Okay.
I'd probably because a lot of it like because I started back well when I was 19 like look oh no yeah 19 looking at stuff on YouTube so
Mm-hmm.
9ish years no before that I used to watch Geek to Freak and all
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff so like so just like watching his videos and then also like Keith Kelfis, Brian Lawns
Yep.
Maintenance and all those ones. That's just to name a few, like
Yep.
Stanley Genetic and like pretty much all of them. You as well. Like
Yep.
I've learned a ton from your videos, and so I would probably say YouTube. Also
Okay.
audiobooks too,
Yep. Another great
and
resource.
podcasts.
Yep.
Like yeah, but I would probably say that probably the most is YouTube, just because you also have that visual. Is
Yep.
that some of them explain numbers and charts or other things like that, so you're able to kind of see that.
Yes.
With audiobooks and podcasts, a little bit of that is lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I would probably say I've learned so much from YouTube, like with your
Yeah.
video making my website and
Mm-hmm.
like learning other different things about seeing equipment reviews and
Yeah.
seeing demos and all that kind of stuff. So I would probably say YouTube has been
Yeah.
my biggest resource of making myself better in my business.
Yeah. Awesome. YouTube is an awesome resource. You can pretty much learn how to do anything on YouTube.
Yep.
It's just amazing what, even myself, things that I've done in the past on YouTube. I had a vehicle that I bought used. I wasn't even planning on buying it. It was very strange. I was looking for another pickup truck, and
Uh-huh.
this little Kia Rio, like this little hatchback, and it was all black, kept popping up. It was like they put the wrong tag words or something. So even though I was searching for pickup trucks, this little Kia kept popping up. And because it was black, I kept seeing it and going, hey, that would actually make a nice little like estimating vehicle, like throw my logos
Uh-huh.
on there and stuff, be this cool little. I'd seen some tree companies around that had little, you know, econo, hatchbacks that had like just for the estimators to go out. I
Uh-huh.
thought, yeah, that would kind of look professional, and I could drive around my, private errands, and it would look like I'm, doing estimating. So people would see my truck working in trailer, but then they would see the car sometimes, and um, so I ended up buying it, and it had a interference style motor, um, which meant that um, timing belts needed to be changed religiously on it. Otherwise, if a timing belt broke, the engine could get destroyed. So I didn't know the history on the car and was like, I need to do a timing belt. So I got an estimate, and it was like $700 or something to do a timing belt, and the timing belt itself was $50, and it was like
Yep.
$700 to do this. And sure enough, went on YouTube and typed in the year and make and model, and there was a video step by step. And it was like a 6-hour process to take half of the motor apart to get to like the enough clearance to do the job. But it was there laid out
Uh-huh.
step by step. And so I did it. I had never changed a timing belt on a car in my life. I had half of that front of that motor apart, and put this timing belt on, put it all back together, started it up, and it ran fine. And I drove it like that for about 3 years until I sold it. And I was like, YouTube is just a crazy resource, like what you can learn on there.
Yeah,
Just
and
amazing.
also like see like with all the other lawn care, um, channels out there. I've seen like sometimes if they show like an in person like of mowing the lawn or blowing or doing leaf cleanup or doing a job, is
Yeah.
that I've learned a couple of techniques that like I didn't do before,
Yeah.
and then after seeing someone else, I'm like, oh, they're trying that technique. Let me try that. Oh, hey, it's more efficient. I can start doing this now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like also seeing someone else doing something
Yeah.
and just improving yourself even more. So
Yeah. 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 No, it's pretty amazing. Um, so what is one thing that people don't realize about running a lawn care business?
it's stressful.
Mm,
um yeah, like a lot of people, a lot of my friends, they'll be like, oh yeah, you run a business, like you don't have to go to work, like you can take the day off if you want
mm-hmm.
to, or this and this. And I'm like, no, like,
Yeah.
and because since this is my main income, it's like everything. And so my wife is just a stay at home mom,
Okay.
so I'm the breadwinner for my family.
Mm-hmm.
So all the responsibility falls on my shoulders. So like if I don't make money, then I can't pay bills, I can't pay for food, I can't pay for diapers, I can't pay all
Mm-hmm.
this stuff. So like um there's about 3 people that haven't paid me for this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still out about 3,000, almost $3,000, that I still haven't gotten paid for. And um, like I kind of want to go up to those people and be like, what if you didn't get paid for a whole month at work? So 2 paychecks. If you didn't get paid for 2 paychecks, what would that do to your family finances?
Mm-hmm.
And they would probably be like, well, I couldn't pay my mortgage, I couldn't pay this. And it's like, well, take that times 100.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I feel every single day
Yeah.
with of clients, of like sending out, like trying to get money from clients, trying to pay bills, trying to pay gas, trying to like just all that kind of stuff. I'd probably say a lot of my friends probably don't think that um running a business is as stressful, but if you think it's stressful, it's more stressful than you think it is,
Yeah.
because of just all the responsibility that comes. And then also doing it, having license, insurance, and
Yeah.
paying taxes on time and all that kind of stuff. Is that, like with a lot of people, they just pay taxes once a year.
Yeah.
And with my business, I have to pay it 4 times a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I don't pay it, then I get a fee knocked on it. And it's
Yeah.
just, so I'd probably say the stress of a business is that I don't think a lot of people think of, is that you can talk about it, but again, like it's kind of what we've been talking about. Unless you go through it, you don't know how stressful it is.
Yeah. 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 Awesome. Yeah. Great answer. I'll just add, you mentioned your wife there. So I'll just add a bit of advice to share yourself to save yourself from a lot of pain in the future, is when discussing your wife, never say she is just a stay-at-home mom.
Yes. No, sorry.
I learned that the hard
So
way.
I should have worded that differently. I was in the moment talking fast,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yes, no, like and really like our home, it runs smoothly as the way it does because of her.
Yeah.
And our kids are like they're amazing because
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
No,
and again,
I'm just pulling your leg.
yeah,
Just
yeah, yeah. Well, I actually also know that because she actually started getting into podcasts, and once I told her about this opportunity, she was like, oh, "I'm gonna watch it." I'm like, "Wait, you are?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm also explaining this because I know she's gonna watch
There
it.
you go.
So also a shout out to my wife. I love you, babe.
There you go. So we're down to the last two questions. So maybe share your best piece of advice with those just starting out in the business. So I want you to come at this from the point of view that this is somebody that you know and that you only want to see them succeed at. So if they were to come up to you and say, "Hey, Matt, I'm thinking about starting a lawn care business. What's your best piece of advice?"
Man, the best piece of advice, because there's so much advice I want to give them. I would probably say know your numbers. I'd
Okay.
probably say when it came down to everything, I would probably say know your numbers, because that comes with pricing, it comes with your overhead, and just knowing your numbers will save you. Like, granted, yes, you'll probably get it wrong a little bit at the beginning, but I would probably say if you know your numbers and you do your due diligence on everything, meaning like the equipment you're gonna buy, the licenses and the insurance that you need to
Mm-hmm.
get. If you do your due diligence and you know your numbers, that will save you a lot of heartache. Not all your heartache, you're gonna have some heartache,
Mm-hmm.
but I would probably say those two things kind of coupled together would be my best advice to one of my best friends. I would be like, hey, make sure that you got these down, because it's what's going to be based on everything else.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Awesome. That's awesome advice. So last question. How can people follow you online if they want to follow Jensen Lawn Care?
so I do have a website. It's
Okay.
jensenlawncare.com,
Okay.
and I'm on Instagram at I think it's at Jensen Lawn Care.
Yep.
And I am also thinking about making a YouTube channel,
Okay.
and that will probably be Jensen Lawn Care,
Okay.
to do review videos and other stuff like that. So that's kind of the main sources: my
Okay.
website, Instagram.
Perfect.
Yeah, I don't have Twitter or anything like that. So
Yep. Perfect. Awesome. And I'll leave links to that in the podcast show notes as well. So thank you very much for taking the time out and coming on the podcast. I really do appreciate it, especially with having somebody so local to me here in neighboring Washington State. That's awesome.
yeah, no problem. And hopefully we can, do a get together sometime over on the west side, or maybe up there. Who knows?
Yeah, awesome. Perfect. So thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you. Have a
Have a
good
great
one.
day. Yeah, you too.